gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for this devotional. Now, before we dig in today, I want to encourage you, go to the link in the website today. It is beresolute.com/retreat. If you're looking for a men's retreat, maybe for your guys, or looking to launch a men's ministry at your church, this might be the opportune time. For the first time ever, I'm going to put on my own retreat, which I hope will travel around the country. We are taking the first 400 guys, and we're looking for some men to help us out in these early stages of maybe recruiting a group of men, or serving at the event, or just simply praying. You can check out that link right there to see how you can help if you want to. And I would love to solicit you to be a part of what God is doing here. With that, let's dive into our devotional. We are in Galatians chapter 6. I'm going to read verse 2 today. Very simple verse. It reads, "Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ." Now, I really believe the willingness of a man to bear another's burden is the leading indicator of a man who lives under the law of grace, and so, as Paul says here, fulfills the law of Christ. You see, this man knows grace, fellas, because he has experienced it. His life is lightened by grace. And because his experience is so good in grace, he wants others to experience the same thing. Therefore, he's willing to bear the load. Do you see the reciprocating effect of all this? It should be pretty clear. On the other hand, there is this other man. He is the man who has slowly bought into a system of legalism. Here's how it works. At first, he becomes irritated by unrighteous behavior, and rightly so, because God hates all unrighteousness. But this man hates it and wants to rid his home of it, the workplace of it, government of it, the church of it, and the world of it. Therefore, he establishes these unspoken rules and laws and behaviors that legislate change in other people. Now, these rules, spoken or implied, are a burden. Not a burden for him to bear, only a burden for others to bear. Notice, he's not bearing a burden like the man who lives under the law of grace, but he is loading a burden onto others. And this man won't admit it at first, but he has no thought of grace. He never even thinks about it. In fact, the thought of grace actually might irritate him, because he's too busy judging others to extend any form of grace to them. And you might be wondering how I came up with this description today. Well, I didn't have to look far. I just looked inward to what happens inside of me over time. This is what I tend to do. In fact, it happens to all of us over time. So if you're a guy out there slipping into becoming a judgmental, legalistic, irritable man of God, then maybe you need a fresh experience with maybe a little bit of God's grace, or a lot of it for that matter. Because guys, God's grace is so good. It's good because God is willing to bear every burden you have. And as he does, we should be willing to do the same for others. So fellas, maybe consider lightening your load a little bit today. If you've become too judgmental and legalistic and irritable, maybe give that stuff back over to God again. And when someone walks along your path today that irritates you, extend them grace. Maybe you'll see what we're talking about here today. I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. If this has blessed you, bless someone else with it, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.